through the dysfunction. We've been through the madness. We've been through the arguing. Now it's time for us to function in the assignment that God has given us. Because he didn't just want us to come together so that we can have a good time and so that we can have dinner and so that we can go to a movies. You know, for me, I've said this before and I'll say it again. You know, I think that relationships are not truly discovered. The real relationships are not discovered until you work together. Until you find out if you can really produce something together, you don't even really know if you should be together. Because we have learned how to enjoy times, and you know, you can go to the movies with anybody. But what do you do after the movie is over? You know, sometimes we enjoy intimacy. Can we just be real tonight? Because even the believers in here, we still human. Amen. And so we have to learn how to develop healthy relationships that stand the test of time. So at this time, I'm going to call Cedric and Kira up. Let's give them a hand. We're going to be talking about how they came to know each other. Because, again, I'm getting a lot of information about how the dating scene is just ridiculous. And I heard somebody say that there was like urine in the dating pool. I said, oh my God, that's just nasty. You know, one of the things that I hate when I go swimming is the idea of somebody, right? And so Cedric and Kira, I love the love that you guys are sharing with one another. And so we want to really talk. You can have a seat. We want to really talk.
Can we talk about the
Okay. That's awesome. Listen, we're here to have fun tonight. We're going to enjoy ourselves. Look, he didn't even want to sit in the chair away. He's just sitting on the bench. So, Cedric and Kira, so happy to have you with me.
Yes, Lord.
Really excited about what God is doing in your life. I had the honor of performing the marriage ceremony.
My God. Did an amazing job too, Pastor Jordan.
And I was, you know, because Cedric, you know, he read like her whole life story and talked about how much he loved her. I mean, I was just like, Cedric making it hard on everybody. Like, somebody write vows. He gonna be writing vows for other men now.
Yeah. They better
It's
meet
a business now.
They better meet them.
It's for real. So it's amazing how you guys came together. Can we just talk about how you came together first?
Absolutely. So it is so. Let me say this part before I get into that, and I want you to remember the theme of this. It is critically important for you to build relationships before you need them. You gotta build relationships before you need them. If you need coaching on how to do that, we've got plenty of people in here that know how to do it. Pastor Jordan, Pastor Michael, myself, Kira. There's a lot of folks in here that know how to build relationships before they need them. And that's what leads me to this. So my brother, and again, you get a chance, baby, to tell your version. But Pastor Michael and I go back a little bit. I think we met each other back in like 2010, 2011. And that just really built and fostered a relationship over the years. And realized that we are the same type of dudes. You know, we like to network, we're highly social, we're very well connected, we're very ambitious, we love the Lord, all those types of things. And for those who may not know, Michael and I actually lived together for, what was it, about 2 years, Michael? Yeah, about 2 years we did. It had nothing to do with money, because both of us, that wasn't a problem. It was about healing, is really what it was about. He had a broken relationship. I had a broken relationship. We're serving here in the church, and we're raising our young boys as well too, pouring into them. And it was a situation where we're like, brother, let's just yoke up for a couple years. And we did, and we built it. We call it the Sanctuary. Relatively small house in Ferguson. And we wasn't parading women through there. We wasn't out dating a bunch of folks. We were getting up every morning. Hey man, who making the coffee? He'd make the coffee. We sit around, we talk, you know, share different things, sharing videos, going to therapy. We were both doing virtual therapy, whether with our therapists, and we would share certain things and all of that, and then staying plugged into a community of men. And in the midst of all of that, this lovely lady right here reaches out to Michael, and she was handling some business with him, and she just randomly asked, she said, "What's up with your boy?" She said, "What's up with your boy?
What's up with your boy?
What's up with your boy?" And Michael, like a real true brother, he blew me up. He was like, "Oh, you mean Cedric? Hold on, let me tell you a couple things. Here's what's going on. You know, he's in transition. He's looking for his wife. Blah 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 blah. He's healed. He's whole. He loved the Lord." I was like, "This is a perfect brother right there, man. He got my all the way back. You hear me? All the way back." And so he called me. He called me. He said, "Hey, I want to let you know. Kira asked about you." I was like, "You mean old girl to be doing the lives and the events and the one with all this style, let me just say, all this sexy swag, and she classy, and she an entrepreneur." I said, okay, interesting. He's like, "I'm gonna tell you, you better not open that Pandora's box. You ain't gonna go back. Because she's everything that I know you like." How would he know that? Because we talk all the time about what it is we need, want, and desire, what we know is best, really, really best for our future. And babe, I'm gonna let you go ahead and chime in.
Okay, can you all hear me? Good, good. So first of all, Pastor Jordan, thank you for this event. Can we give it up for Pastor Jordan? Thank you so much for curating this space to talk about love, because it's so important. It's good that people desire love. Like, it's good to say, I want to be married. I want to be a wife. I want to be a husband. I know we kind of get away from that, but it's not a bad thing. Love is a tremendous, huge part of who you are as an individual, especially when it's right.
Yes.
Especially when it's right. So that is the story.
Yeah.
That's the story. That's exactly what happened. I knew that I was ready to be married because I was a wife. And God had me in purpose. And so I tell women all the time, if you're saying that you want to be found in purpose. Be found doing what it is that God has asked you to do. That ain't got nothing to do with you being on social media. It doesn't have anything to do with you getting it tight and the injections and all that. Just be found doing with what God has asked you to do. Yes. And because I said yes to God and I was doing what he asked me to do, Mike and I had connected on something, and I went to college with Mike. So I've known Mike for 30 years.
Wow.
All the way back for 30 years ago. Thank God he forgot some stuff. Because we was in college. I was like, oh Lord, I don't know what he actually shared with Cedric, but I've been saved now.
He told me everything. And I still love, no, I'm just playing. I'm totally teasing.
We found each other through connection.
Okay. So what brought you to that place where you said, you know what, I am ready to be a wife? And how did you know you were truly ready? Because there are people who say, or women who say all the time, I'm ready to be a wife. How did you know in your heart that you were ready?
Well, I knew what I wasn't. So I knew that I wasn't a girlfriend. I knew I wasn't the side chick. I knew that I wasn't somebody that was going to be on a roster and behave. Like, I couldn't do it. You know, I knew that. The minute I found out I wasn't number one, it was going to be a problem. Yeah. And so I knew internally that I was a wife. And then here's the disclaimer. I had been married for 22 years. So I knew what it meant to be inside of covenant. So when I was outside of that, not by my own choice, I realized that this dating thing was not going to work well for me. Because me being in and out of relationship with different people I wasn't going to do well with it. Yeah. So I knew then, but I think the question was, how did I know I was ready for marriage? Yes. And that's a question that I hear a lot of my sisters say. I'm ready to be married. And I challenge them and say, but are you ready to be a wife? Because you might just be ready to not be by yourself anymore. And the only biblical way for me to have sex is to just go on and be married. And so we get in trouble when we say that, right? I'm just ready to be married. I'm ready to be married. I'm tired of being by myself. And single people are the most plural relationships. You saying you single, but you in relationships with 5 people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's no room for us as women to become a wife, which means I'm going to be committed totally healed, whole, and free to one man, and whatever that means.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question. When you came together and met each other, were you attracted to one another immediately?
Immediately.
Immediate. Y'all.
I was
Listen.
across the street
let
and
me-
I saw him. I'm not lying.
Let me
Immediate for me.
let me tell you what she told me. She said, "I wanted to come to St. Louis because keep in mind, everyone, we did a long distance relationship for a year and a half. Okay, Kansas City, St. Louis. So this wasn't like she was right around the corner. But what she said, when she said, I really need to come to St. Louis and I just want to see you. She didn't tell me why. She said, I just want to make sure you ain't had a big high booty. Like you had a booty on your back.
Well, you know, tall guys, you might have high.
A booty on my back. I said, praise the Lord, I've got none. So I'm good.
I did say that.
There was just that was just unacceptable.
It was unacceptable. I couldn't have a big high booty, Pastor.
That was the one thing.
I couldn't have a juicy
I
booty.
was, and I, you know what? I had prayed. I was like, Lord, if he's everything I think he is, and he got a high booty, I'ma just go with it. That's not my preference.
Wow. Tell the truth. We're here to be honest.
But the attraction was definitely real, and it was so much of an attraction that it's like sent out a signal to other people who were working. So we saw each other for the first time at our church's first annual car show, and our attraction was so intense that other folks were like, "Who is that?" And why does it seem like her and Cedric are leaning towards each other? You know what I mean? And I called myself kind of just trying to make her comfortable. And one of my friends was like, you do know it's obvious that you're catering to her, right? You do know. I was like, no, it's not. She's like, yes, it is. It's obvious that you are. I said, let me just let Michael keep hosting her for right now. And we're going to have I call it a date, an all date. So I said, I'm going to take you out the next day. But it's going to be after church because I serve in my church. So it's going to be after church. I closed up the church, jumped in the Corvette with the convertible. I was like, yes, God, thank you for this. And roll over and got her. And we were out all day long till about midnight, just riding and talking and went to a couple restaurants and whatnot. And it was like we could not let each other go. We couldn't.
So how long did you guys talk the first time?
Well, the first
On the phone.
on the phone.
Okay, on the phone. Yeah.
So the first
Okay,
time
those
we
were
talked-
crazy.
Yeah, those were crazy. Those were the 5, 6, 7 hours.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we talked one night for 6 hours, and I looked at the phone and I said, you do know we've been on the phone 6 hours? She said, no. I sent her a screenshot. Look at what my phone says. It was 6 hours.
You know what's so important about that particular part of our relationship was I was not a night owl.
And I didn't know that.
So women, if you got this whole list about, well, I gotta be in the bed by 9 and I gotta have my hair done and I got my bonnet on at 8:30 and all of that, and you're saying that you're a wife and you're waiting for God to bring your husband, you have to be flexible. You have got to be flexible because Cedric is a night owl. And I knew he was an entrepreneur. So whatever hours he had, I had to be flexible in order to communicate with him.
So you stayed up.
I stayed up.
I
You said,
thought
I'm not going to sleep.
I'm not going to sleep.
Not tonight.
Not tonight.
the whole time, because she would hang on the phone with me the way that she would and add such great content and a great exchange, I just assumed she was a night owl. Because most folks would be like, I'm passing out, I'm done, I can't do it. So it was 6 hours on the phone one night. Then we were like, okay, well, maybe we shouldn't do that again. It was 4 hours the next night. And then in that same week, it was another 6 hours.
Wow.
At night. And she was a champ. I said, oh, yeah, this is awesome. Because I get in my mode at about 11, right?
yeah.
And so that was pretty awesome.
How else am I going to get to know him if I don't talk to him?
Oh.
Now that's really, really key because in today's society, you know, we send a text message and it's 2 sentences and it's straight to the point, and we don't text again until it's time to actually go out.
That's true.
So you guys being intentional about having conversations. Now, how important is communication to you, Kira?
It is key, and because when you are a rising Ruth, is what I call them, a sister who is preparing herself for the man that God has for her, you need to find out as much as you can about him. My dad taught me this. He said, never tell a man what you want. Don't tell him what you want. Don't tell him what you like. If you pay attention, he will tell you everything you need to know. And so I knew that I needed to be able to listen to him. I want to be able to hear how he thinks, because that's a key indicator on probably how he's going to treat me.
Now, how does that work? Because, you know, ladies, they love to talk.
Yes, we do.
You all love to talk. Am I right? So are you intentionally saying to yourself, I'm going to just listen? So you're saying that to you. Wow. And so do you kind of, when you have the urge to say something, you know, because if he's talking, he could talk for 2 minutes and you done had a lot of thoughts. And so you holding off on all of those thoughts that's going through your mind so you can hear his heart. That is awesome.
The part of that, especially in courtship, the reason why I need to listen to him in courtship is because I'm going to have to listen to him if he's going to be my husband. So I'm practicing now,
Yeah.
right? Because
yeah.
he said some stuff I probably didn't care about. You know, I'm being honest. Some stuff that
Be honest.
he may have said it once before.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I did the same thing with him.
Yeah, because Cedric is going to talk about cars and the
Everything.
gun range
Everything.
and all of that.
Yes, great storyteller. His middle name is Omar, and it means great speaker. So I know what I'm marrying.
Wow.
Right? So the listening part is so key. And our society, and I don't know what's coming after us, so I'm not trying to get ahead of the panel, but our society has tricked women into believing that it is a weak thing for us to listen and obey.
Wow. That's good.
That is not weak.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, it takes a great deal of strength to be able to listen and obey.
Wow.
Ladies do it for their employers every day. So it's not like you don't have practice.
Yeah.
You really do.
Yeah. How cultivating was the conversations?
Oh,
like,
yeah,
did
so-
you walk away like I learned something as a result of talking with Kira?
Yes, absolutely. Every single day. And I'll say this about communication. It just wasn't Cedric Cobb on the phone talking for 6 hours straight. It was great exchange of dialogue, amazing nonverbals, those feedback things. Tell me more about that. Wow, that's really interesting. I like that part. It helped me understand, you know, kind of who was there, give me the situation and the circumstances. So she asked great inquisitive questions, and I felt like it was a good exchange. And I also asked her a lot of questions too.
Yeah.
And I sort of doubled down on that a little bit, but again, I don't want to get ahead. But no, it's a great exchange and conversation, because I've also communicated with people before who you go, hello? Oh yeah, I'm here, I'm just listening. But I had to do that like 8 times while we were on the phone. You know what I mean?
It's
like
kinda awkward.
Yeah, it's very, very awkward.
Yeah.
So when someone like her can have a great flow in conversation and we're not sitting in front of each other, like, wow, okay, this is very, very good. No, that's the other thing. I know many people lean on FaceTime and Duo and things of that nature. We really weren't FaceTiming at all, so we could only really fall in love with the content of what we had to say.
He brought content to the relationship. So I want that to be said too. He curated things for us to talk about. He would send me videos. He would say, have you read this book? I want you to check that out. And he wanted to know what I thought. So it was easy for me to listen to him because he was wanting to listen to me.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Let's give them a hand. Because like this conversation is so necessary, Because if we're going to have strong and healthy relationships, the communication is really the foundation of that relationship. A strong and healthy relationship has to have great communication. And so you were walking away saying, I learned something from talking to Kira.
Absolutely.
Now, this is critically important because she's help. And if she's going to help you, God has given her some insight that you need.
Yes.
And so when you were walking away after that, well, you didn't walk away because you're on the phone. But did you leave that conversation feeling like, I found my wife?
I walked away from the conversation feeling like she really fits.
Okay.
And so I had not.
That's a step.
Yes, a major one, because she still had my undivided attention. I wasn't talking to anybody else on the phone. I wasn't hanging up with her and getting on the phone with anyone else. It was just her. And so it's a lot to be said about that. So with that, I felt like, wow, she has a good fitment for me from what I'm learning so far. But just like any other guy, I've seen her on social media, I've seen videos. I'm like, I need to witness it for myself in person.
Yeah.
So I wanted to see that too. And so when we finally got an opportunity after this huge buildup of conversation over the course of a couple, 3 weeks, and then we finally got to see each other, it was like, oh wow, okay, this is all clicking for real.
Wow. Wow. Is that the same for you, Kira? You walked away feeling like he taught me something.
Oh, every time. And that was a part of my prayer. So I didn't make a list of a man, which I do not recommend that a lot of my sisters do. You know, he this and that. You know, I only had the high booty, y'all. That was the only thing.
One thing.
The one thing. But there were certain things that I wanted him to have attributes. I wanted somebody who could teach me because I like to learn.
Wow.
And I'm a CEO. So I have a lot of things that I command already. When I come to Cedric, I don't want to have to be on 11. I want to know, can he get me to 1 really quickly?
Wow.
And so for me, those were things that I was looking for. So to be able to hang up and him desire to want to hear my intellect and not be so concerned about how I like what I like.
Yeah,
You understand what
yeah.
I'm saying? Because I can tell you that, or I can present that to you, but that's not gonna last.
Yeah.
That's only gonna be good for what it's good for. And
This is
then
true.
after that, then what, right? So it was important to me that he wanted to communicate on that level. And that was something I asked God for. He needed to be able to teach me, and he needed to be able to lead me.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, we know that you're an intellectual, but at the same time, men are visual.
Yes.
So, Cedric, how important was it that your potential spouse had the physical appearance that you desired? Because this is important for women. You know, like there are things that I desire, there are things that you desire, Kira. How important was it that she had the physical side of what you wanted?
That part I thought was very critical from the standpoint of, I know that I have a calling in the area of marketplace, right? And in the way that I flow, and I could be a big personality when I come into places, not on purpose, it just kind of organically happens in that way. And I did not want to have a woman that would feel uncomfortable or insecure in that place.
Yeah.
So she needed to already have her own level of confidence and cachet to her to be able to move and flow, like you said, Kaisha, a level of feminine swag. You know, if you go dominate me with your femininity. Do that, right?
Yeah.
And so when I look at that part, even the more, I'm already thinking ahead. Because as men, we are looking to see, okay, does she kind of fit in these particular places? And I'm like, I go to a lot of galas. I go to a lot of fundraisers. I go to all kinds of events. God bless me, I get awards, things of that nature. And is she going to look the part, feel the part, and be the part because that's who she is, or not because she's just trying to do that for me? Because that's going to turn into because that will turn into a negotiation later. Later on, she'd be like, baby, I think I could go to about 60% of all the events you go to. Do I have to go to this one? Now it will become a negotiation. And I didn't want that to be the case. I want her to be like, oh, baby, you ain't going nowhere without me. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You're like, you better get a +1 on that. That's what I need. I got to hold her back. I do. I'd be like, babe, I'm going. Why ain't I going?
Yeah.
Exactly. So what are you going to do without me, right?
Wow.
And the other piece, too, to know is as much as I network and as much of the great relationships God has blessed me to be able to build, there are certain relationships I cannot build as a single. I can't do it. I can go approach a couple at a gala, and I really need to get at the man, but it ain't going to happen without her. Because I can't talk to his wife. I can only talk to him. But if I let them two conversate, she'll come back and say, hey, babe, we're going to be having coffee next week on Wednesday at 2 o'clock, so I put that on your calendar already. Yeah. It has to happen as a couple, as a strong couple that understands the mission when you walk in. So her look, her style, I love her style. I love her style. I do. She had told me, she's like, well, my hair used to be long, and I said, your hair is long, it's beautiful, but let's rock this short, though. This short is fly. You know what I mean? And it's more of a signature, and I love that. I'm a big guy, so everything I wear is custom. My woman's got to be custom, too.
Yes, come on. Just had to touch his face, huh? Just That is awesome. We were having this conversation, Cedric, about who's the prize.
Oh.
Right? Because, you hear the language, all over social media, like, I'm the prize. And
I'm
if
the table.
Get me, he getting the whole prize. Kira, did you feel like...
I'm so glad I get to answer this. Did I feel like I was surprised?
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, what's the question, Pastor? Let me look.
That actually is the question. Did you come into the relationship saying, well, I'm the prize and he needs to cater to me kind of situation?
So I didn't, but I know that a lot of my sisters do. And I think there's 2 points to this. One of the things is that a lot of times women lead with that because we have been mishandled, we've been abused, we've had to overcome so much trauma at the hand of men, whether that's daddies, uncles, exes, whatever. Sure. And so we have to build ourselves up to this self-worth, and we are more than enough. You're stronger than you think. You're all of these things. I'm the prize. That's one thing that happens. I don't agree with that. And the reason why I never came to Cedric and said I was the prize was because I feel like this. Prizes are something that is won. And if I position myself as something that could be won or purchased, I can also be lost.
Wow.
And so I am not going to say that I'm something that can be acquired. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What I'd rather say is that I'm in a position to add value, to help, and to assist. Because that's what God called me to do. That's what he created Eve to do. There really wouldn't be an Eve if Adam wasn't in need.
And he didn't get a prize, did he?
He didn't get a prize.
No.
He got
He got help.
That's what he got.
Can we get some help?
It's the truth. It's the truth. And to the sisters that are watching, that's no knock on us. He created us, meaning we didn't exist. There was no form of help in the earth that was there. So God had to create you. So there's no diminishing of me being something different than him. Yeah. But no, I never came to him and said I was surprised. Now, there was some stuff I did say.
Well, let's talk about it. Since we're here. I did. There were things that I told him the first time we talked. I told him, I said, hey, I just want to let you know I'm very direct. And he was like, don't say that word. And I was like, in my mind, I'm like, but I am. Like, I'm not going to give you subliminal messages. There was language, listen, ladies. There was language that I had adopted from society that was masculine.
And because I had adopted it, it put me in a position to almost miss this. And had he not been healed, whole, and free, and confident enough to tell me, you're too beautiful to talk like that. Don't say that to a man because it actually turns him off. What you should say is this. And if I hadn't been healed, whole, and free, that would have landed on me like, ugh, right?
You'd have been like, this Negro.
Yeah.
So you like heard it when he said that?
Yeah, he said it to me.
But you didn't get an attitude.
I was glad we was on the phone.
That's the answer. We was on the phone. I did.
Okay. That's what I wanted to know.
I did. When he said that, I did. And
Yeah.
what happened was, it was a trigger.
Got it.
That's what it was. It was
Yeah.
a trigger from my past.
Yeah.
You know, you're not gonna tell me what X, Y, and Z. I've been out here doing this by myself for 5 years. I had to rebuild my life. I had to go back to work. I had to do all of these things. So then I had to say to myself, Kira, you're a wife. So if he can't say to you, when you say direct, it lands on us a little different. He definitely ain't gonna be able to tell me I can't buy that purse next week.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? So it's really, the question is, what is it that you really desire? Are you more concerned about living your single womanhood with a man and calling that marriage?
Yeah.
Or are you really ready to submit? The Word of God says this in Ephesians, and I'll be quiet. He says, wives, submit yourself to your husband. Respect him in all things. And then there's a period. There's no negotiating. There's no me, Lord, but you know how these men are. It's 2023. These niggas, da, you know, all of that.
Yeah.
So we don't have that. We don't have that B clause that we can put in. This is what it is.
Yeah.
The wife is the weaker vessel. It don't mean I'm weak. It means I'm weaker than him.
Yeah. Wow.
So I was a wife. So I'm looking in the Word of God for things that are going to help me to be a wife.
Yeah. So, because I want to go back just a little bit while we got a little bit of time. So when he was talking to you, we're gonna get back there.
Okay.
Come on, Pastor. Come on.
So when he was talking to you, and he was like, "Wait a minute, you don't want to say that to a man." Did you kind of like just pause? Were you silent? What happened in that moment? Because that's the place of processing. You heard him say something, and you a woman that's taking care of all of your bills, right? You don't need him to pay your bills. You don't need him to pay your phone bill. Can you pay my bill? You ain't got that question. Right? And here he is telling you shouldn't say that. When was the last time you heard a man tell you shouldn't say that?
Oh, now that's good.
You know what's interesting? Do you want me to comment? What you said is so good. So yeah, I did pause, and I got all the way down in my feelings, zipped them up, and was wearing them for about 5 minutes. But it wasn't so much that he said to me, I shouldn't say the word direct. It was what he said after. And because I was listening, he was able to help me to now correct it. So it wasn't that he was like, yeah, you shouldn't be talking like that. You know, men don't want to hear y'all. You know, it wasn't that.
Yeah.
But because I had past trauma and it triggered me, I did get an attitude, but I just didn't say anything. Now,
That right there, you felt it, but you did not say anything. I think that is so powerful that you can feel it and not add voice to it. Wow.
Yeah, because I had been studying Proverbs 31.
Okay.
And in Proverbs 31, the word says that a wise woman has the law of kindness on her tongue.
Wow.
And I'm a wife.
Yeah.
So I need to be lining up with what's going on. And guess what? It was great practice. Because now when he says something that triggers me, I know how to be quiet.
Wow.
I don't always have to have a response.
Wow.
That doesn't make him correct.
Say that again.
right? That doesn't make him correct.
And we know we're not always right.
Yeah.
You know, but we can appreciate
Yeah.
silence so that we can process. And sometimes we'll come back and even apologize.
Absolutely.
Say, I was wrong. I actually said that the wrong way. Please forgive me. But we can add fuel to the fire with the wrong words. Yeah.
And it doesn't diminish me to be silent.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem that I see in our sisters, is that we think that somehow being quiet, being still, listening, and not always having to say, you ain't gotta always do all that.
I ain't about to let them take my voice.
That it makes me weak. That doesn't make me weak.
Yeah.
That doesn't make me, no more than his words make me strong.
Yeah. 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 Because they might be on the phone with a girlfriend saying, girl, don't let him take your voice from you.
Yep.
When you need to talk.
I'm gonna be single just like her. Gonna be single just like her.
So let me ask this last question here. Cedric, and we had a conversation about this. Do you need Kira?
Yes, I do. I absolutely do. And with that, I am, even if we look at it biblically, and I love what Miles Monroe says about this, is, we know that the Bible says it's not good for man to be alone. Miles Monroe, I think, really narrows it down. He said, if you look at who Adam is and what he's doing, he's about his family, he's about his father's business. He named everything. He gave everything identity. He's walking with God. He's doing all that. He said it's not good for this man to be alone. Mm-hmm. So if a man is not walking in something and doesn't have a vision or whatnot, maybe he's better off being single.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when you have someone who, I know I have a purpose, I have a calling, I have vision, all of those type of things, I never wanted to be without my wife.
Wow.
Never wanted to. So I've always needed that rib that completes me. Yes. I didn't just want to be married to a woman. I want to be married to my woman. So I absolutely need her. And even in 60 days, my life has changed tremendously, because that's how long we've been married. And so we know the Bible says that a man that finds a wife finds a good thing, and he obtained the favor of God, right? Well, Pastor Ron prayed for me before. He said, Lord, let the favor flow. Let the favor flow. And it absolutely has, And now don't be deceived. There's no miracles that happen at the altar, okay? Because we stood right here on this stage with Pastor Jordan 60 days ago, and who we are, was on the stage, we brought that right into our marriage. We did. We brought that right in. But what was good is we did so much of our own work. Being healthy, whole, free, coming to it with open eyes, and knowing without the shadow of a doubt that we're marrying the right person.
Wow.
Without the shadow of a doubt.
Wow. Awesome. Kira, do you need Cedric?
I do need Cedric.
Awesome.
And God told me when I was single that there were certain things that I would never be able to do in my life without my husband.
Wow.
So I definitely need it.
I love it.
And I want it.
There it is. There it is.
I want it. I want him.
See, that is the key, It's like, need him, but let your want be bigger than the need, right? Because if you need him and don't want him, you're using him, right? That's what's actually happening.
My God.
You're using him to get your needs met. And men feel when they're not wanted.
Yeah.
There's a behavior that comes along with, I don't want, right?
Exactly.
And no one wants to be coerced or have to coerce someone or talk someone into being loving toward them. So that's so powerful. Let's give them a hand. I truly appreciate Cedric and Kira. At this time, we're going to have Christy come, and she's going to give us some insight, because what I believe is psychology and theology should come together. When we're talking about having healthy relationships, you have to have reason, right? You have to think things through. And so if you're going to have a relationship that's thriving, you got to be a thinker. We don't have mindless relationships. You have to process, you have to pause, you have to consider. So at this time, I want you to give us the psychological impact that a loving relationship has on a couple. Can you do that for us? Let's give her a hand as she comes. This is actually Dr. Christy Anderson, so let's give her a hand.
So I think Kiera and Cedric really cover a lot of what I wanted to talk about, and I love that they presented that example to us
Come to the
before.
center.
So one of the big things that they talked about was communication. It's really, really important to be able to communicate with respect, with openness, with honesty. It's not the easiest thing all the time, but sometimes I want to say about, that purse, those shoes, like, it's way in the closet. No, I bought that 6 months ago. Kevin will tell me, no, no, I saw you come in the house with that. So he said, I just didn't want to hurt your feelings. Like, do I have to return it though? Okay. So, and usually the answer is so that communication, and the biggest piece about communication is that when we disagree, it's okay to disagree. We're human. We have different perspectives. We have different ways of seeing life. So it's okay to disagree. It's just not okay to dismantle each other. That tongue is a sharp thing. It's a very sharp thing, and some people will aim to cut. And so you don't want to destroy something before you can come to a conclusion. In communication with Kevin and I, we talk about a lot of, we used to use the whole thing, and we call it the cop-out. We'll just agree to disagree. Like, okay, well, that may work for a little bit, but when do we come around to that issue? So we have changed it to, we're going to pause on this for a little bit, think about it a little bit, pray about it a little bit, pray for each other, that we can come to a conclusion, and just always remembering that it's the two of us against the problem and not the two of us against each other in our communication. So, trust is that really basic foundational block in a healthy and loving relationship. If I can't trust the person that I'm with, we just can't build. It all falls apart. So, even we learn about trust when we're babies. When I'm crying, somebody's going to feed me. When I need comfort, someone's going to hold me. So that allows me to learn how to trust the world around me. And in our relationships, in our romantic relationships, being able to trust that you will go and get some soup when I have the sniffles, or you'll get the good medicine, so that we can all feel better and keep life moving along. That really, really helps. Um, so patience is a big thing. We're not at our best all the time. We're just not. And so having that patience, because again, that tongue is sharp. Sometimes we want to say, well, what's wrong with you? Why are you upset? You shouldn't be. Well, no, you can't tell me how to feel right now. But we could talk about what's upsetting me. Again, the two of us against the problem and not against each other. And both Kieran and Sid talked about flexibility. That is so critical in a healthy and loving relationship. Again, we're human. Compromises are needed. Being able to give and take, not keeping score, but giving. Really helps us. One thing that we've been talking about in our marriage lately is appreciating appreciation and gratitude. So in this new year, we started things like gratitude journals and even bringing the kids into it. So what are you happy about today? What do you feel good about today? And being able to show that appreciation to one another. Um, Thank you. It goes a very long way at home. It really, really does. Please goes a very long way. It means I value you in my home. I value you as my husband. I value you as my wife. Um, Room for growth. And I'll just talk about the personal example in my married life. When Kevin and I got married, um, I was transitioning out of a position where I was in a management position. I had started the department that I was in from scratch, and it was weighing me down a little bit. And Kevin was transitioning into some of his own work. So about 3 years into our marriage, he says, "Hey, it is time. God says it is time to start this business." So Kevin talked about that on Sunday, and I did say, "What? What? We're doing what?" So we were also, just a note, we were also pregnant with the second child at that time. I'm like, I don't know how this is going to happen. He said, God told us that it was time, and we're good, and we're covered, and I got you. And I said, okay, well, let's do this. And I joke with him and say, okay, you got me to agree with this because I was tired and pregnant, and it was happening anyway. I couldn't find it, so. But we had the time of our lives at his launch. It's been growing ever since, and so being able to value and honor the growth in that has sparked a little entrepreneurial spirit in me as well. So stay tuned. It's happening soon. We talk about, individuality and boundaries, and that was another thing that Kira and Cedric talked about. They were whole in themselves before they connected. I like to say I was a fully baked cake before I connected with my husband. He was a fully baked cake before he connected with me. We just now have a bigger cake and some frosting. So we're good. We're good, and we're growing. And so we respect that we're individuals, we're growing, we have our own interests. I'm a shy introvert, my husband is an extrovert. He is all over the place. I joke around all the time that he runs out of gas in his car so much. But I can have a tank that'll last 2.5 weeks. So, but he fill it up in 3 days because he can't keep still. He's really big. He's really good in the big picture. I'm really, really good in the details and the analytical side of it. So for us, it fits like a zipper. And once that zipper is connected, we're strong, we're bonded, and we're protected. And so we're honoring that individuality for one another and having those boundaries in that. So, I speak about all of that to just talk about some of the benefits of being in a healthy relationship, a really good bonded relationship. One is practical help. We have 2 young sons. They keep us very, very busy. As a matter of fact, Kevin is home with the kids right now. And, we help each other with the home. We help each other with what we need. We feel the loss when one is not there. So, just for example, Kevin goes away for business sometimes a little bit more than I do. And so when he does that, the house just kind of feels like it falls apart a little bit. So I'm yelling at people 5 minutes before it's time to get in the car. Put your jackets on. It's time to go. We have to go. Where's Daddy? Daddy is in bed. So mommy's got to figure it out. But that practical help really does mean a lot. Feeling valued. When we are filled with that love, with that healthiness in a relationship, we do feel valued. That gives us that room to grow. That gives us that room to be those individuals that we are, and to be able to just be able to give more into that relationship and to others. Because when that love bucket is filled, we get to pour it out. Um, so, being our ideal selves, Kevin talks about it all the time. A lot of the world sees Dr. Christie, he gets to see Christie. He tells the world, my wife is so goofy. She is horribly goofy. She laughs at the silliest things. That's the best things about her. But I get to be Christy. I get to take all of that off. I get to take off what the world gives me, what the world expects of me, and I get to just be me. And that really helps me to grow and stay whole as a person. And same thing for him. Um, we talk about in a healthy relationship, you get to be a part of something bigger than yourself. So, Kevin came to marriage with this huge network of people, this huge family. He's never met a stranger or an enemy. And they love me because they love him. And the same thing on my family side. And the same thing with my friends. As a matter of fact, when he started his business, my oldest sister just kind of jumped on in as his editor and uh, his advisor. I didn't even know for a while. It had been about 6 or so months, and she was like, "Oh yeah, we talking." Okay, good. Good. I'm glad. I'm glad he has that connection. And there are a lot of studies that talk about reduced stress, better health outcomes when we're in those connected and committed and healthy relationships. There is that person who says, okay, did you go to the doctor today? Did you set up that appointment? Oh, okay, you didn't set that up. I will set that up for you. We're going on next Thursday. So that helps in some studies. They talk about that helps our life expectancy. We do live longer. We're in those connected relationships. Loners have a little bit of a harder time and just may not have, because you don't have that other person or those other people who say, hey, I'm checking on you. Are you okay? And just the last thing about a benefit of a connected, committed, healthy relationship, it can be just a whole lot of fun. It really, really can. I do like that we laugh a lot in our house, and there's a signal to us when we're not laughing as much. And it's just a signal to recalibrate, reconnect, see where things are, figure out the situation, and laugh again. So, for those who definitely can find that, I thought about more so about my marriage in this, but I think about my parents who, thank God, were married for 45 years. I think about other relationships that I've seen over the years. I think about my close friendships. I think about past romantic connections and what I learned from there. And at the end of the day, when you're feeling valued and when you're feeling whole, when you can be your ideal self, that most certainly helps you grow and bond with other people and give out because you do have a full heart to be able to do that.
Awesome. Let's give her a hand. Powerful, 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 powerful. We live longer when we have healthy relationships. Is nothing like having a relationship that you're excited about, something that inspires you. I've always said this. I said, don't marry someone that doesn't inspire you. Should be inspired within your covenant relationship. At this time, I'm going to have Bishop Antoine Jackson join me. Come on, let's give him a hand as he comes. Now, I'm going to sit right here because we get ready to go back and forth. Because this right here, this about to get real.
Check, check.
I told Bishop, I said, Bishop, now just go on and say it. We ain't here to play. We're here to say.
Let's go.
So Bishop, we've heard a lot about, again, like the dating environment and how difficult and challenging things are. Where are we going wrong as it pertains to dating? Because I know that, again, traditionally, when we date, we're going to the movies. They say we're collecting data, and that sounds good. But often when we're collecting data, we got the wrong hard drive, right? We really do, because people don't tell you everything. They don't tell you everything. And guess what? We're living in a time where people know how to act. You could tell by social media. People know how to put on the front. They know how to present things to you. And sometimes we don't wait long enough before we put them on our picture profile. You know, like on Facebook, where your profile keep changing. So where are we going wrong as it pertains to like the dating process? Are we doing it wrong?
Yes, and I say that emphatically. And the reason why is this. For a little bit of context, I was married. I was married for 11 years. I call it, I was married, the better to marry than to burn marriage. Y'all ever had that? You get married because you had sex, and then you feel like you got to marry her or him. That was my marriage. It was a 19-year-old boy that wants to do it right and serve God and attracted to this lady. And I feel like, dang, we had sex once, twice, three. I got to marry her. And so then I marry her at 21 years old. And then in that, knew it was the worst decision I'd ever made. But because of the way that...
So you knew that at the time?
I knew that at the time.
Wow.
Yeah, I knew that at the time. I knew that then because I realized that there wasn't a chemistry there. There was no submission. We did not really know each other. And so because of that, I found myself staying in the marriage long, because here I am. I'm in ministry. I'm in church. I'm loving God, serving Jesus, you know, all of that stuff. And so for me, I thought that divorce and adultery were this, like you get the same kind of punishment. So I stayed, and the reality is I should have just walked away. I say that to say because here I am now being single 8.5 years. So I've had as much being single as I have being married and been able to look at the ranges. I feel like what I've learned in dating is we put too much expectation at the very beginning when we don't realize we have to create a space where we can get to understand each other. And, you know, yes, nobody wants to be a hoe. Nobody wants to sleep around. You know what I'm saying? We want to be focused about the relationship. But I feel like we have not discovered that in dating, we should be able to ask specific questions. We should have specific experiences so that I can really know who you are. I need to see you through seasons and times so that I can get a range, you know what I'm saying, of how you respond to particular things instead of trying to rush down the aisle. And I feel like in certain ways, we prepare people for the wedding day. We don't prepare them for marriage. And then they get on the other side, and then we're like, why is it a colossal failure? Because we never ask questions about capacities, abilities. We never ask questions about philosophy. How do you think? You see what I'm saying? Like really having those conversations so you can see a person's character and characteristics that aren't just based on their moral characteristics. And I'm saying that particularly for the church, because the church only focuses on somebody's moral characteristics, but don't actually understand their character. You know what I'm saying? So typically the way we try to gauge somebody's moral characteristics is their willingness to have sex before marriage. And it's like, but what about everything else?
Okay, we know you're not going to have sex.
We don't want to have sex before marriage. What else?
This is true.
And so that's why I'm saying we do dating wrong. Because people aren't equipped for the what else questions, the what else experiences. And then they get on the other side and then they're hit by a train wreck because everything else comes out when you're not having the sex.
Wow.
Amen.
So, yeah, we could give him a hand on that. So are we putting like too much emphasis on like love, right? Because everybody want to be in love. Right? So we kind of think about relationships from like this fantasy world, you know, or this lens that sees things like it's Disney World. Like I'm going to have love and I'm going to have fun.
Yeah.
And then you get married and you realize like being in love, like we don't really fall in love. You don't really fall in love. You really make love.
That's right.
You construct love. And there are ingredients to making love. So now I'm not talking about like in the bed, because you don't make love in the bed. You make
Right.
love in the head first. And so how do we get to a place where we are actually making love? There's some qualities that we need. We talked about trust. For me, what I hear and what I know is important is empathy. Like, can you empathize? Can you put yourself in someone else's shoes? That's if you're gonna be able to relate to somebody, you're gonna have to put yourself in their shoes and feel for them at times.
That's right.
If you don't have that capacity, then you don't need to partner.
That's right.
You don't need to partner, because you'll end up hurting somebody because you're numb.
That's right.
You have to be able to feel, because you'll watch your mouth when you feel. You have to be able to feel, because you won't reject when you feel.
That's right.
When you feel, you treat people differently.
Absolutely.
So are we too focused on just like being in love?
Yeah, we're focused on the utopia. We're focused on the utopia, and we don't realize that relationships require capacities. I say this, that you don't meet your soulmate, you make your soulmate. We think we need to meet them.
Wait a
You
minute.
make that. You build that. You participate in that. That's two people's investment into a relationship where they're mutually feel that the relationship is life-giving. In certain ways, we have this picture in our head of a utopian relationship when we don't realize that that's something that we have to participate through consistency to build. I am coming to the understanding that love requires input, and it requires action and sacrifice. And oftentimes, because we look at love as a feeling, yes, there's a requirement. Sacrifice is a requirement for love. To say that God is love and then don't see that God actually does something doesn't really make sense to me. And so I don't think that many people realize that relationships require mutual participation. They require both of us to be able to bring to the table. And I say this, the way you build a relationship is the same way you build a business, on a strong mission, vision, values, culture that's reinforced by both people. So the reason why the Bible asks for us to submit, sub means below, mission meaning aim or goal. Both of us actually participate in building the mission. This is why the Bible says husbands submit to your wives, wives submit to your husbands. And then this is why the Bible says both of y'all submit to each other. Well, what makes that subjective? We both built the mission. So then it's no longer just about our personal opinion or about how I feel. It's the fact that we both agreed to this is what we want. We both agreed to that this is the value that we want to experience. So for me, as a single man, a single successful man, a single man that raises my daughter, that's texting me right now. So if y'all see me picking up the phone, it ain't my boo, it's my daughter. That's, Daddy, can I go to Target? You know what I'm saying? Like, that raises my daughter, that pastors a church, that travels, that really does all of this. I'm realizing that oftentimes many people don't have capacity. They want love, but outside of a relationship, they haven't built their capacity for a relationship. The muscle, the ability to communicate, the ability to do life with somebody. It's like they're sitting on a camp just waiting for the perfect person to show up, and that's not real life. It's not real.
It's I want love.
Yeah.
Without capacity.
And then I'll pray for it. And like God superimposes himself on somebody's will.
So this is good, because are we praying about things that we probably shouldn't really be praying for?
God does not give you what you pray for. He gives you what you can manage. Relationships require management.
Well, you just done messed up my whole, prayer life. I've been praying for a bank.
Did?
Give me a bank, Lord.
Right, exactly. Just stop praying about it. You know what I'm saying? And grow. And this is where I try to offer to singles. This is where you grow in personal development.
Yeah.
Okay? This is where you actually go on a journey in your personal life. And you say, who do I want to be?
Yeah.
What is my desire and mission and vision and goal for my life? And you get so locked into that space, then you actually become what they said. Now I realize I'm in a space in my life where I need help to accomplish this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So relationship isn't just based on the fact that I want love.
Yeah. Yeah.
It actually is an assignment.
Wow. Wow. So we got to stop praying, Lord, give me Six Flags.
Right.
Like, you know you can't manage no Six Flags. You just want a joyride.
Yeah, in fact. And if you want sex, just say that.
Yeah, come on, be honest. Yeah. Like, honesty is something that we're just not doing a good job with. We're not being honest, and it's time for us to be honest and say what we really want, because then a person can tell you whether or not they're gonna get at to you. So this is where we really enter into relationships, not being someone else, but being ourselves.
Right.
And if you need help in that area, say you need help in that area. Because we may be willing to wait or work with you.
That's right.
Because everything is not a deal breaker. Everything is not a deal breaker.
right.
And so it's important for us to be honest up front. At this time, I want to add some ladies to this conversation.
Yes, sir.
I want to add some ladies. I'm going to call up Sister Demetria. And Pastor Michael, can you bring this chair closer? Because I'm also going to have Dr. LaShawn come up, because I want to ask some questions. I want to really talk about finances a little bit too.
Oh, Lord.
Because I heard a post. Well, I read a post. I don't think you hear posts, do you? No, you don't hear. I read a post, and someone was saying that they're not going to marry someone if they had to split the bills. They just said that she can sit right here. Or is that too low?
You want this chair?
There we go. She know how to sit. Awesome. So since I got y'all here, I want the raw. I want you to just tell me. Let's hear it. I've been hearing that ladies, I've just heard it through the grapevine. Somebody said,
I've experienced it, Pastor, so I know this.
Somebody said that if he can't pay the bills, they don't want to be a part of that. What do you feel? Within a relationship, can it be 50-50 and you be all right with that? Either one, Dr. LaShawn or Sister Demetria, either one, you can answer the question. We putting you out there.
I can be, because I guess I am a woman with some great confidence. I have achieved some great things. I am willing to come to the table with my portion, as long as I know my mate is going to be truthful about his portion. Okay, that's good. Okay? So, yes, I can be.
Okay. So as long as he's being honest about the finances, he ain't hiding money, he's not showing himself to be deceptive, but he's actually saying, this is what I have and this is what I'm able to give. You're not saying he has to make $250,000 a year. You're saying, whatever you have, be honest about what you have and bring it to the table.
Absolutely, because I've been in a marriage. I've achieved great things with someone thinking that they had what they didn't have, okay? And I was willing to meet halfway with that. Not because I wanted the man or I was so ran to be married. I know what capabilities that I have. But if the truth is there, we can do 10 times as more together than I can single. Okay?
Wow, that's great. That's powerful. Dr. LaShawn, is it acceptable for someone to like come to the table and say, I want to split the bills?
Well, first of all,
I had to say it like that because I'm trying to provoke a response. I would have split the bills.
Thank you for this opportunity. I will say, I actually agree with you. If you would have asked me this question 20 years ago, I probably would have said, you need to come with more than what I have. But as I've watched relationships, I'm a wedding planner, so I get to hear these conversations a lot. As I've watched relationships, oftentimes he can come to the table with more money, but then he's messed up in other areas. So for me, if you come to the table transparent and honest about your finances and what you can contribute, I'm willing to work with you depending on if God wants me to, Pastor Jordan. So I'm not one that's looking for him to have all this money. I would love that, but I make my own over here.
Be honest, you would love that.
I would love that, yes. But that's not going to be a determining factor for me to turn my face away from him and say I'm not interested. Yeah. Because that's how they have women. They define us. You know, I'm from Los Angeles, so you know that's the big thing out there that we want men with all this money. I'd rather have a man who's saved and know God and not necessarily have all that money, because when we come together, we'll be able to make all that money. So that's my answer. So I agree with you on that.
Okay, well, we get ready to, Bishop, I'm getting ready to say something now. I'm getting ready to use a word, and I know Kira used the word, but I want to put some like heat on it. Can you submit? I want to say it like that. You know, because we've had, like, in church we have the conversation, and, you know, sometimes, you know, I hear ladies talking, and they're like, well, I can submit, but then there are all of these prerequisites for that submission to happen. So how do you feel about submission? Are you willing to, Sister Denitria, come under? Because see, I know Sister Denitria. That's why I'm talking like this. So are you willing to be instructed or led? I'm trying to use, Bishop, do you have some other words that we
Yeah, I do. So if it was like, hey, I need you to spend $90 for grocery shopping today, will you come back and say I spent $200 because you felt like 90 wasn't enough? So I'm asking a specific question about submission.
See, there's a theme song that's in my head, and they spell the word. I think it's Lil Boosie. Okay.
Tell me more. All right. You ain't mess around. Hey.
And so I gravitate towards that song because when you say 90 or he say 90, and if I got 200 and want to spend 200, I got a problem with that. I got a serious problem with that. So on this side of 50 and going into the, you know, this other side of the century, it's a little hard, Pastor. It is. It's a little hard, you know, and I'm just going to be very truthful.
So is that a conversation? Is that a conversation that's being had? When is someone saying, well, your husband saying, I need you to spend 90? Is there a conversation? Are you saying to him, baby, I got 200. Can I just spend the 200 and I'm going to get everything we need and we're going to work this out? Is that a conversation, or are you just kind of feeling like, I got 200, I don't need to talk to you. I got the 200, I'm going to spend the 200.
I probably have two sides, yeah.
Okay.
So one side of me is trying to be submissive and understand maybe there's a budget situation.
Yeah.
But the other side of me is like, you know, this dude.
I want to talk to the other side of you.
I'm like,
Yeah, that's who we want to bring out.
so yes, I guess that other side comes out, be like, you know, man, please.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
okay, we need possibly a conversation, but then, if there's no meeting in the middle, I'm subject to lean towards the side that this other side.
So does he have to tell you why? Is that what we're getting at?
Yes.
Because if you're
Yes.
saving for a house, for instance, and he said, well, we've been budgeting, this is what, I'm looking to save this month, and so I need you to stick to this budget, and it's $90.
I can respect that a little bit better.
Got it.
I can respect
Now,
that a little bit
this
better.
is important because there are people who are having this conversation right now, and we want them to understand what's needed. Like, if you're the man, you don't just get to just say $90, right?
Yes.
Now we need to have a conversation about why.
Yes.
And if you're able to articulate to your partner why, then that becomes acceptable if there is a vision or a goal in mind. But for some people, it might just be like, oh, okay, $90, I got it. I got it. I don't need to ask any more questions. But you ain't that kind of woman.
She gonna spend her 200 and say I did. And I spent it on you. You wanted these hot dogs, these ramen noodles.
And see, that leads to an argument. Then that leads to an argument. So the communication piece, I would want to hopefully be able to incorporate that for the sake of doing things the right way and being led spiritually to submit. But it can be a struggle. It can be a struggle depending on who that mate is. And, I guess if we're married and we're trying to strive for other things, then, yeah, I probably would accept, some understanding of just spending the $90.
Wow. Awesome. Let's give her a hand. Uh-oh, we get ready to add some more people to the conversation. I got to call them to the carpet. Pastor Michael, come on. Yeah, you can sit right here. This is going to be good. I got somebody else that's coming in a second, and we're going to add him to the conversation. Pastor Mike, you've been someone who I've watched over the years. Actually, we've known each other for a while now. How has the dating process been for you? What is your experience?
It's been an interesting journey because I've been married before. I have a 16-year-old son now, Mason. Shout out to Mason. But it's been interesting, but it takes discipline.
Mm-hmm.
It really does take discipline to be in this holiness thing and to be living like for God for real. Because if not, I honestly have about 5 or 6 women on rotation.
Wow.
I'm just being honest. Hey,
Yeah,
we're gonna have a panel. We're gonna open it up a little bit.
Come on, let's be honest about it.
I ain't always been saved trying to focus on one woman. I'm serious. So it's been really challenging because my propensity and my habit and my lifestyle is I network a lot, like Cedric said. I'm at a lot of events, and so I have to literally act like I don't have eyes. Because it could be real dangerous if I let my flesh get the best of me. You ask me a question, that's the honest truth. It's been challenging.
So the challenge is, from your perspective, just being disciplined. As a man, you're working on just being disciplined. And listen, this is a real life conversation. As men of God, it takes work to be disciplined. Okay, there we go. Who said that? She said women too. We working at it. It's just not y'all. we all got feelings. We all got flesh. Go ahead, Bishop.
Pastor, here's the one thing I've been saying and have been trying to explain to the church. In our position, it's only 2.5 men in church anyway. 1.2 of us are heterosexual.
Oh, Jesus. Go ahead and be honest.
Okay, so to me, when people people ask me about being tempted, I was like, temptation isn't about the woman, how many women I can have.
Yes.
That's youth church stuff. I'm a grown man. Okay, so when you're talking about temptation, it's not about how many women I can have. It's the fact that I'm tempted to settle because the church would rather me be in a marriage, so for optics to look like I'm not a hoe.
That's the part. That's good, Bishop.
Than to actually be trying to work it out so I don't get in a bad marriage to be divorced again. So I tell people, like, I'm a single man. I didn't wake up this morning like, ooh, today, who can I smash today? Never thought like that. Never thought like that. I'm just up, living my life, and doing what I feel like God calls me to do. But there are women that will slide in the DM, show up at places, do strange things, all kind of stuff that I've experienced in 8.5 years.
So wait a minute, you saying that women
And
are
then get
getting in your
rejected,
DM?
then get rejected and call you the devil. Okay, I just had to get that off my chest a little bit.
I love it. See, he done opened up something.
Wait, I gotta add another brother, Jeffrey Giles. Come on up here. We gotta talk about it.
You want to wait for Jeffrey to come up, or you want me
Yeah,
to
we're gonna wait for Jeff. You got a thought, right? You're gonna share it. Awesome.
What Bishop just opened up, this is real talk, and I'm going to open up my mind so you all can hear. The work that I do, I go from LA to New York to Atlanta to Chicago, know a lot of people in a lot of places. The level of discipline that he's talking about is necessary, because if not, the DM situation, the Facebook loves and likes, and all of a sudden you still got a little bit of fanfare and the 1.5 heterosexual men that are in church. Some people are attracted to the anointing. Not a shabby guy, been successful in baseball, been successful in my business. So all of that is attractive to great women, and that's good.
Yeah.
But if it's 10 and 20 and 30 women who's looking for one man in the church trying to work for God, that's a dangerous situation.
Yeah.
So that's where the discipline is required. So I don't date.
Yeah.
I court a young lady right now.
Yeah.
And I specifically told her, because see, when you date, that means that you can get a piece of here and a piece of there and a little bit of everything with some people. Because then dating means we're not monogamous. This ain't about sex. This is meaning who you're spending your time with. So dating opens up a whole different conversation. Well, we ain't like that. I can go see Susie Q and Shaniqua and whoever, right? So I don't date. I court specifically with an intent to see how God ordains it, and if he doesn't, I can't move forward. So that's why I don't date.
So, but you had to get there.
I had to mature.
So you were dating.
Yes.
And then you stopped dating.
Yes.
And now you court.
Because it's dangerous.
Because it's dangerous. You've seen the danger in dating.
Yeah.
Got it. Is that the same for you all? You guys, Sister Denitria, Dr. LaShawn, you guys are not dating?
No, I'm not dating. Give her a mic. I'm gonna say, I guess, maybe 4 years. I did court someone, as he said. The young man courted me for a whole year, and it was just conversation, eating. He was at my 50th birthday party for a whole year, just to see where it would go. And things changed. It didn't work that way, so it was good. You can walk away feeling like, okay, I didn't just lay down. I'm not a hoe. I courted, and so that was a good feeling for me to see, because I've never courted. I've been married twice. So courting, no, I got married because I was a wife. So that was a good thing. So I like that word, courting, because there's not a lot of men that know about courting.
Yeah, one of the things, I think that this is important for us who are here, those who are watching. Like, you don't do this perfectly. No one does this flawlessly. I don't ever want to give the impression that because we're up here, we all got it figured out, and ain't nobody messed up, and ain't nobody sinned, and ain't nobody. The reality is that in some way, all of us have erred. And we learned how to do this. And you had to pray, and you had to talk to some people, and you had to fast, and you had to get around some people that would support you. So Jeffrey, I want to ask you this question. What are some of the challenges that you've experienced? I'm going to say courting because they done told us dating is of the devil. So, so I'm going to say, what are some of the challenges that you've identified as a man? I think that there are ladies that want to know, what are the challenges? Just give me one, because you done took a deep breath like you done experienced.
I'm still stuck on, he said he had 5 potential. I'm like, wow, 5. I think is women not being really ready. So I have some knowledge about houses, if I can just explain it this way. So I can drive through a neighborhood, new construction, and there's no house there. But I look at the foundation, and on the foundation, I can tell you if that house is gonna be a 2-story or a ranch. I can tell you if it's gonna be a 2-car garage or a 3. So when I look at a woman's foundation, I can tell you pretty much where they are headed, what they're trying to build or what they're not trying to build. You know, is their house clean? Is it folks running all through their house? You go visit, you know, you got cousins, auntie, everybody done moved in. Where is that space for me? You know, if I come over, you know, I'm sitting on the floor. There's nowhere for me to even sit. So I kind of look at what a woman says and what she does. I've went out with women that had on red bottom shoes, but their plates on their car was expired.
Oh my Jesus.
And those are the things that I noticed, because are you on the phone all night and you're talking about everybody else's ex, your ex? That just lets me know you're gonna bring that chaos into my house.
Yeah.
You know, when you're on the phone constantly, just chaos, and you're always talking with people that you say are messy, you're gonna breathe that chaos into our relationship. So when somebody comes and tells you that I allegedly said something, because you're so full of that chaos, I don't have a chance. My voice means nothing to you because you've already set in stone that, hey, it has to be chaotic in order for me to thrive.
Wow, wow. Bishop, I want to ask you this question. Bishop, are we choosing to court the wrong people? Because, like, if you got a bunch of horror stories, like, doesn't it mean that you might be, like, choosing the wrong person? It ain't that everybody bad, right? You know how we used to hear things like, it ain't no good men. Right. No, it's just the men you picking. So like, yes, at a certain point, we like need to stop and like reevaluate, right? Yes. Why am I drawing these kind of people to me? Is there something in me that needs to change? Because the last 3 that I dated, they weren't no good. And I keep finding myself in relationships with people that I'm saying ain't no good. But I'm choosing them.
Yeah. I say this, Pastor, you can't do anything about who you're attracted to, but you can do everything about who you accept. You can do nothing about who you're attracted to. My eyes see. Man looks on the outward appearance. It's God that looks at the heart. So if I look at you and I find you attractive, that's one thing, but I can do something about accepting you. This is why I'm always preaching the gospel of personal development. Mm-hmm. If you don't have a worldview that allows you to see people different, oftentimes you won't do life in the spaces with the people that you want to actually do life with. You know, we want to be saved, right? Yeah. We want to go to heaven. We don't want to get in a relationship and it be messy and all of that. And so we try to date in church. Okay, so we look around and we try to find somebody that is spiritual. Well, we've already kind of talked about how limiting that is. right? You hear me? So it's already kind of limited to slim to none in that. So then the next question to me is, where are the type of men or the type of women that you want to date? Typically, they're connected to their purpose. They're connected to their hobbies. They're involved in things that give them fulfillment. And so this is why I always say the worldview question is important, because how you see the world. This is why, like people like us, we travel. I travel every other, I'm always gone. So I know so many different people, and I know that everybody isn't the same, but I also have different hobbies that shows me that people think different connected to certain hobbies. Like I ride my bike in the springtime. I rarely see out there riding their bike. You see what I'm saying? So I'm saying, but there's a certain discipline.
So wait a minute, you ain't never been riding your bike in the city, and then there's a lady that
I see the other ones.
What you mean the other ones?
That's what another conversation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I see the other ones, but I don't see
Us, yeah.
No, I'm not saying y'all don't, but I'm just saying, I'm using it as an example, that oftentimes where you find people in their place of hobbies, I go to the gym 4 to 5 days a week. You would see that there's a certain level of discipline to my life. If you see me in the gym 4 to 5 days a week, then oh, that's a disciplined person. He comes to the gym every day at the same time. Yeah. I can see through his lifestyle that he has a certain thinking pattern. Yeah. And so I always try to encourage sisters to be like, hey, don't be discouraged just because you don't see a lot of men in church. Start looking into their characteristics, and you'll find them in certain spaces, and realize that maybe church just hasn't got to the point yet where a lot of spiritual men feel safe. We're working on that.
Yeah.
But it does not discount them and that they are out there. I just want y'all to know that.
Wow. That's good. Does anyone want to add?
I do want to add, because there's a psychology to being disciplined. I was disciplined in baseball. I was disciplined to get a scholarship. I got drafted by the Boston Red Sox, all of that. But I had to redevelop and let God redesign me for who he wanted me to be. Family's like, you're going to be a millionaire. You this and this and this, and all these guys that you played with, they made $100 million. I'd have been dead, or 10 baby mamas had God blessed me with that kind of, I'm just being honest. I got some college friends in here that know my history. But God had a different, and he changed my behavior, right? I say that because the psychology that it takes to have discipline to really live this real life out, not in a religious way, but in relationship. And so I study people's patterns and behaviors and things like that. And so when people start like getting way left field, Pastor, in terms of dating and courting, then that's a problem.
Yeah.
So patterns and behaviors of who we spend our time with in our inner circle and things like that really get off on us. So if you gossipy, you probably messy.
Yeah.
But if you like, I got 3 minutes or 5 minutes to gossip, get off my phone, then I can work with you. Yeah. So I want to say that in the psychology behind dating and courting and being intentional, it really is work. But it's self-work. I had to do my own work before I got back out there dating, courting, any of that. I was off the market. Cedric said we were roommates for about 2 years. Hey, brother, what you got? What you got? And then when he got sharpened, I got sharpened. Now he got a beautiful bride.
Yeah.
And God is working on me.
So you had to go through the healing process. Awesome.
First.
I want to ask this question too, because I hear this often. I heard it through the grapevine. I heard people saying, I ain't gonna settle. Now, this is my question. Aren't we all, like, to a certain degree, like settling? I mean, you gonna have something there that you don't like about the person. And if you could draw up the man that you want, I promise to you, ain't no man on this earth gonna fit into that mold perfectly. There's gonna be something that gets on your nerves. So have we, because like the whole I'm not gonna settle got people like they've been single for 20 years. And ain't not, listen, if you're all right with it, I'm all right with it too, and I celebrate your independent status. But if you desire to be in a relationship, if you desire to be married, I think you may have to let the idea of perfection go. Not you just gonna accept anything. So are we too picky?
I'm gonna say it quick and pass the mic. It's not that you are too picky. You're not dating for you. You're dating for your friends. You want to step into a place where your girlfriend will say, "He fine. He dressed nice. He got a nice car." So it's not even about you. It's about the image you want to project. It's all about appearance. And I know this is because half your day is on Facebook. Half your day is on Instagram. And you're always promoting yourself. So if you're always promoting yourself, why would you ever get into a relationship with Bubba?
You ain't gonna want Bubba.
He gonna pass the mic.
You're dreaming of what is his name? Idris Elba. You want Elba. You don't want Bubba.
Ladies, you want
Ladies, do you
Yeah, I was waiting for the mic to come over this way.
Okay,
We missed
come
a
on.
lot of stuff. Settling is seen a little bit differently in my mind. We've said a lot of stuff. When God sends the person he has for you, it's not really settling, Pastor Jordan.
Okay.
It's me being able to connect to the part that you need help with and vice versa. So it's not necessarily settling.
so you're not settling.
I'm not settling. Now, let me just go back to a few things that were said. I have been single for a very long time. And for me, it was because God told me that I was not to focus on dating. See, when I was out there, I was out there. I was in the DMs. I was doing all of that. But God told me I
The
need to.
doctor in the DM.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I wasn't a doctor then. You know, things have changed. But God told me he wanted me to focus on my purpose. There were some things that he had before he sends who he has for me. And I can't do those things if I'm busy chasing Elba, Bubba. And I'm gonna tell you, my DMs go up every single day. There's many places I can be tonight, but I know what I have to do to keep myself from being LaShawn way back that y'all don't even need to know about. So to answer that question, I don't look at anything as settling, because I've seen a lot of people get married where I'm like, I wouldn't deal with that. But she completed him and she helped him in that area, and vice versa. I'm listening to Kira and Cedric. I love their story, but there may have been something that I'm like, I ain't dealing with that. But that's for what God had for you. So we have to be careful with that word settling, because for you, it could be settling. They might have settled for something. But for me, I don't necessarily see that. I see that completeness. And can I just answer that question about the $90, and then I'm gonna let y'all get back? That was a tough question for me, because I've been thinking about that. I'm the kind of person that'll probably go spend $200 and then sneak the groceries in the house, and you're not gonna really know. I don't even know who buys $90 worth of groceries. But I wanted to answer that question because I am working on submission. That is very hard for me. Can I be honest? That is very hard for me, because there are times I have male friends that I'm very close to, and there are some things that they'll ask me, and I'm like, oh my God. But I know that God is working on me. I'm 46. I've never been married. So to have to come to a place where it will be time for me to, like Kara said, become a wife, because I'm going to become a wife. There's some things that I need to work on, but I'm working on submission. But $90, that ain't happening. But let's talk about why it's $90, because I got a couple of accounts over here. Let me just slide some money so it can be more than 90. I had to answer that because that was bothering me, Pastor Jordan. But I'm working on
was
submission.
bugging you.
Yes, $90 is really bugging me. But I'm working on submission. Y'all pray for me, because that's a hard place. You know, the lady came up and talked about the shopping bags. That's going to get me in real trouble. But I watched my mom, who's watching. She used to hide the Louis Vuitton bags in the trunk. And that my dad would be upset, but you can't take them back. So I just had to answer that. Okay, go on.
I'm glad you answered the $90. Sister Denitria, did you want to add something to the whole settling piece?
Ladies, don't settle. just don't settle. Enjoy you, embrace you, learn again who you are, whom's you are, and you don't have to settle. Wait for your Boaz, your Bubba. Let them DM you, don't DM them. And, see where the courtship leads to. But no, I'm not settling. I don't have to settle.
Well, we're going to press this a little bit further. Because I've heard some people say, he got to be 6 foot so-and-so. So if he come and he 5'9", and he has great qualities, because I know y'all said don't settle. I'm telling some of y'all settle. He might be 5'9", but God got him. He got the right mentality. He's ready to be a provider. So if you have a vision of who you think he should be, and he walk in and you like, but I'm looking him eye to eye. I don't like looking him eye to eye. I want to look up at him. And you can't look up at him. You got to look him in it. Y'all face to face. Now, if y'all face to face, and I know y'all, I'm telling you, I've heard it over and over again. I got a vision of what he gonna look like. He ain't gonna be the same height as me. Well, he might be the same height as you. Is it, can
My God.
Well, Pastor, you know me well enough, so. So, Denzel was probably my ideal when I was younger, but I ain't always had a Denzel. But he did have some other
you had Donnie,
qualities.
huh? Come on.
But he did have some other qualities. So, yes, I would be fine with a 5'9" if he wasn't 6'2". But yes, the other qualities does have to also be a big part in that as well.
Yeah. So that's a compromise, right? Because Bishop, you got something, I want to let you go.
I just wanted to say that, there's a difference between standards and expectations. And I think we don't know the difference in them as it pertains to our preferences. So it's like, I can have personal standards, but I cannot expect you to abide by my personal standards until there's an agreement. Right, so this is, the relationship mechanics. So I can have expectations. I want her to look like this. I want her to smell like this. I want her to blah, 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 blah. But I'm mature enough to know that some of those are preferences. Those are not characteristics. So knowing the difference of that, and then also knowing preferences. Like, I have a certain woman I prefer, and that's from the outside to the inside. And I know that she may not be that yet, and I may be able to help her become that. You know what I'm saying? Through my safety. Through my safety, through my protection, through that, she may become that. But I think that we don't always know the difference between standards and expectation, and we settle on the wrong thing.
That's the key. We settle on the wrong thing.
And then we make the next person pay for it.
Yeah.
Because then our expectations are way too high in that area, because we determine we will never experience that again. Then the new person comes and is like, why do I feel such projection? Like, I didn't hurt you, and I didn't even ask you for that. But because you were hurt in that way, you now project that as a standard. When you need to know that that's actually an expectation.
Come on. That's excellent. That's excellent. Yes. One of the reasons why I even brought up the word settle is because there was someone who was like in the process of settling a lawsuit. And they had a vision of, or expectation really, they wanted this amount of money. And they had been fighting for this amount of money. And the lawyers was advising them, settle. Go ahead and accept less, even though you wanted more. So as believers and as people who have these expectations, I'm asking the question because I think that it's important that we dig deeper into this, because we keep saying don't settle, don't settle, don't settle, and then there's a lot of people out here that you ain't even got a chance because you got a fantasy in your mind.
Facts. That is why I got so passionate about having these conversations on a deeper level and not just throwing scriptures. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Because it's like we're throwing around scriptures that oftentimes lack context and interpretation. When the scripture calls Eve, it did not call her a helpmate. It did not call her M-A-T-E. It called her a meat, M-E-E-T. Those are two totally different words. And so it actually shows that Eve had the capacity to actually serve in that assignment. Meat and mate are two totally different things. That means that's why the Bible called her suitable. This is why the Bible calls her suitable. So I think that some of our relationship mechanics these days are found in us wanting to be moral, but lacking real interpretation as to how we are supposed to relate to each other as the opposite sex. And knowing that the relationship, we asked a question earlier about what's the prize. I say to people, the relationship is the prize. We both
Excellent.
want to mutually benefit, you know what I'm saying, from the relationship. And so it is us understanding that we have the capacity to build the quality of the relationship that we want.
I love that. The relationship is the prize. So we can stop fighting over who the prize.
Right.
Because, you know, people coming to the table, I'm the prize. Now the man want to be the prize. I'm the prize. And she like, well, I'm the prize. And it's just a fight. Like, we got a whole contest going on. That's what we can't be together. Too divided.
That's a good point. Talking about being together, it talks about, how can you walk together unless you be in agreement, about unity. So a couple of areas I want to insert here. We don't deal with conflict resolution well in relationships. Causes a lot of divide in marriage. Conflict resolution, this whole masculine energy thing with women, as well as childhood traumas. Those three things right there just muddy the whole water of dating and relationship and being plus 30, plus 40. It's tough. And so if you haven't done your own personal work to then expect the mate to do something that only Jesus can do, that's a real dangerous place to be. And so then it becomes a performative relationship. It's not the mutual thing of we both want the relationship and we getting something out of it. It's like, no, you do something my daddy couldn't do. Yes. You do something that my previous boyfriend couldn't do. You do something that my previous husband couldn't do. So you just said it, Bishop. We then are penalized for something that's we didn't even do. We didn't even know.
It's not my cost to pay.
It's not my cost to pay. So the conflict resolution piece I want to insert there because a lot of people have conflict and battling and fighting the wrong fight. Chrissy, she said it earlier. She said, Dr. Anderson said it earlier, they're in it together. You fight the external thing. Don't fight each other. So that's the conflict resolution piece that I think is a real major issue in that childhood trauma thing that it rears its ugly head in the most inopportune times. And see, the man or the woman is like, whoa. You're like the predator when he takes his helmet off and he looks way different. I'll leave my mic.
Dating the predator. Lord Jesus. Help God. Listen, I don't want to hold you all night. Is this good? I want to give those who are in the audience an opportunity to make a statement or ask a question. If you've had a thought that, just going through your mind as you're sitting there, I want to give you an opportunity. Just raise your hand. I want to give you an opportunity to come forward and ask your question. Any questions? Okay, awesome.
Oh, all right.
I want to talk again about this thing of settling. And I realize what you were saying in that sometimes our expectations are so high that they're unrealistic. So then you said go on and, decide, better yourself first. And so what I want to know, what I feel for a woman is, if I meet a man, I expect his earnings to be similar to mine, primarily because we're nurturers. And if we have more, we'll do more. So what's wrong with that?
Bishop.
Nothing is wrong with it, ma'am. But it is a question of capacity, and I've been using that term all night because I think it's important for us to know this. I don't walk on my hands, but if I lose my legs, I develop the ability to use my hands to get to where I need to go. Yeah. So there was an intended purpose for my legs. I need to use it that way first. Should something happen, then I'm able to adjust. That is the beauty of the human experience. In relationships, my personal opinion is not about how much somebody makes more than their ability to manage what they do make. And we're not asking the question of management, we're asking the question of more or yes, and we know that lacks subjectivity because I could get fired. Now I don't make that no more. You could get a job that makes more than me. Now you are the breadwinner. So my relationship to you shouldn't be based on how much it is. It should be based on whose ability is to manage it. And if somebody has the wisdom to management, we should defer. This is where we submit to each other. Yeah. I should defer because you have the wisdom to manage it. And then that shows you that I love you and respect you enough in your gifting and your skill set to contribute to the relationship that makes us both mutually feel good about it.
Capacity thing. I didn't know. And so because we don't know, I think our expectations then are unrealistic. But now that I know about that capacity thing, because again, Jabez enlarged my children, but there's a lot of that we don't have the teaching to make us more sensitive and empathetic to the situation.
You just preached.
We have another question?
Yeah, we got another question back here. You got to stand up, ma'am. I'm sorry. There you go.
All right, I wanted some clarity. I come from a church where I was taught dating was okay because you're dating to actually pick a date, that you're going to get married. But I'm confused on the courting. What happens in courting that doesn't happen in dating?
Pastor Michael, go ahead and rock with it.
If you date and you are getting to know, a person, another person may come along. In the fact finding and in the experience of dating shouldn't be for 6 months or a year or 2 or 3 years. It should dwindle down to say, I see something in you, you see something in me, and now let's move it to the next phase of monogamy in terms of I'm spending my time with you. Because if you forever date, you're going to get a piece of a man, or a man is going to get a piece of a woman. So the danger of dating of perpetual is what's the purpose? So that at the end of the day, you can claim it what it is, it's semantics, dating, courting, but what is the purpose behind the time in which you're spending with that individual, male or female? That's the difference. Courting is with an intent to let it lead to potential marriage, and if she just said for a year, it didn't work out. She could walk away and it's all good. But dating without an intention is a waste of time.
Wow, here we go. Here's another one. No, you got to follow the rules. I'm going to need you to get up to. No, okay. I can't let you hold a mic.
Sorry. I'm Dee Dee's mom, and the courting and the dating. I know back in the day, back in slavery time or whatever, that's what they called it, courting. And back in those days, those men and women, because of the way things were, they really needed each other. To me, they were more bonded. But I don't see any difference. Because a man can court you and never think about marriage. So I don't see a difference. I mean, it may be, but I don't see a difference. I'm like Donna. You can date because when you're dating or courting, well, I'm going to put it like this. The first thing a man sees in most women is sexual appearance before they get to know this here. Now, I think I heard Pastor Jordan say something about you begin to make love with the mind or something like that. But I don't really see a difference in courting and dating. And at this age, at this age where I am, I'm not interested in either. And I know God wants us to be with somebody, because I'm very independent, you know, and I love my men. Don't get me wrong,
Thank you.
but I do. I love men, and as far as looking for a man in my church, that's truly not. So I just rather be friends, or whatever. And if maybe one of the men want to take me out for dinner or something, I'll go. But I'm not interested in anything else. As we say at Calvary, I yield.
Ooh, Jesus. You were next, Diamond.
Mama Buford
Okay.
in the building.
I know, right?
Blessings to you. Can I answer that real quick?
Yeah.
So you just said it yourself. It's your intention. You're not really interested in either the dating or the courting, so you're settled in where you are. Many people in this room aren't settled as where you are. We desire to be married. We desire to have a purpose partner. So it's a matter of intention and desire. If that's not your desire, then it could be the same thing. But really, yes, ma'am.
Oh no, Mama Buford punked me on my first date. By the way, I actually. No. That DD. I was like, wait a minute. I'm so sorry. Okay, we're on to the next thing.
Okay, my question is concerning the submission part. Um, how how would one, I heard both of you ladies say that you're working on that or that God is working with you on that. What does that look like? How are you working on submission, or how would one advise a person, a woman, who needs help in that department because they may be strong-willed or may be independent and may be, okay with doing things on their own, but want to be in a relationship where the submission is required?
I would take some tips from Kira. Again, she's, prayed to be a wife, um, seeking the position of a help meet. Would I say the help meet? And Cedric shared with her uh, his goals, his missions. What were the three things? The mission, the goal, the accomplishments. And they both had exchanges in that area, which she felt comfortable with. This could be my husband. I can submit to that person. So depending on the qualities and what is being, as we say, brought to the table, I'm sure, as I'm saying now, no, I'm not looking to be married. But if someone brought the qualities and we exchanged those qualities, sure, I would be open to praying for submission. So it's depending on that man and what qualities and what his vision and directions are, that you can listen to him, that you can follow him, is what you would be submitting to.
Okay, but I heard you say praying for submission. I think that. Are we praying or are we submitting? Well, I know you could like. Okay, so.
I'm answering her question.
Okay.
As far as, what suggestions would you give to a woman that is looking to be married, the whole needing to submit according to the word? How does that look?
Okay.
So I'm answering
Telling
her
her to
question.
pray about it.
Right, not coming from me, but answering the question for those that may have to be struggling with submitting.
And I'd like to add to that. For me, I'm going to be honest, I went into a consecration a couple of years ago. God had me to study couples in the Bible to really understand what submission is. I'm a daddy's girl, and so anything that I used to see in relationships, if it didn't look like my father did it, then it didn't make sense. And I had to get away from that because, of course, my dad didn't do everything right. But for me, studying those couples helped me to understand, okay, this is exactly what submission is. When you're telling me that there are certain expectations you have of me in a relationship, and I can even be more honest, a lot of the relationships for me didn't work out because I was the one that made more money. I was the one that had more of a prominent lifestyle than the men that I dated. And I had to come and look at myself to figure out, why was I attracting those type of men? Because in my nature, I wanted to run everything. And so when I went into that consecration, I knew that that was the area that God was working on me with, because I desired to be a wife. I don't want to be a wife and I'm running my husband around. Obviously, that's not what I wanted, but I had to work on that. So the praying for me over time, it was, God, show me examples of couples that I can glean from of what submission looks like. Like I said, I'm still working on that, and I don't think I'll ever perfect that. But at the same time, I know that it's important because that's something that obviously my husband is going to look forward to. But I also know that God is going to give me the desires of my heart. So that man is going to be able to teach me more about what submission looks like if I have not covered all those areas. And God told me that that is going to be something that I am going to have to learn as that time comes. So I know it's not going to be perfected, but I know that that's something that I'm going to be working on even when it's time for me to get married. So I wanted to, because that was very important. When I speak to women audiences a lot, those are conversations that come up. What is submission? Because sometimes when you hear from a man, women just think, I got to cook, clean, do all of this, and that's submission. That ain't submission. So we need to be clear as to what submission, what does that look like? Because they got to submit a little bit too now. But there's an expectation that they have of us and vice versa, to where submission works as a whole in that couple.
That's right. All right, here we go.
Let me just add one. You said,
Go ahead.
when you mentioned if a man is saying, okay, I got to cook, clean, do laundry, that's submitting to them. I'm going to say this. If those things are already in you, you're already doing those things, it's very easy to submit because you're already that person. You already possess those qualities anyway. So you're going to already be the understanding of, I'm a helpmate or a helpmeet to this man, because all of those things are going to be already done. When you're preparing to be a wife, all of that's already done. You should already be a housekeeper. You should already take care of your children. You should already provide food and dinner for your family. That should be a routine thing because you're already in preparation for the wife mode. So that shouldn't be hard to do. If those are the things that you're, listing, that shouldn't be hard to do at all, to submit to.
Yeah, submission is not needed in that case, right? Because you're actually doing it.
Right, you're already
Submission is really necessary when you don't agree. That's when it's necessary. If you're in agreement with it, you're just in agreement with it. But there are times where there won't be agreement. Are you willing to allow him to lead? And so I appreciate you sharing that. Bishop.
Yeah, I'll just make this really quick. I think that don't have the misnomer that men understand submission as well, because the Bible actually tells us to submit too. I've learned that with submission, you have to have an agreed upon, listen to me, family, an agreed upon mission, vision, values, goals that we both have agreed to, because that's what holds us in alignment to actually leading the relationship. And I want us to not look at this from a hierarchical standpoint. Why can't we look at this from an ecosystem standpoint? This is to ensure that the relationship is healthy. Absolutely. This is about health. This is not about control. So I would like for us to remove our socialized mindset that we have around that definition, and that will help us all see each other in a better light. My desire is not to have a woman that I tell what to do. That don't even make no sense to me. You know what I'm saying? Like it just doesn't make any sense. That's not what I want. I actually want us to both understand that we have desires for the relationship that we've agreed to, and we're keeping each other in the pocket. Submission to me should be like the chiropractor. that it is, we want to keep the relationship in alignment and require some pressure. And if we can approach it that way, then I think we won't look at it as control more than it is as both of us saying, hey, you have needs, and I committed to say that I was going to spend the rest of my life with you. So I should not want to see you unhappy and unfulfilled. I should care that you feel loved, and I should care that you feel that the relationship is giving you the benefit. And I feel like that if, as brothers, we model that level of submission, then I think is going to do a lot in the society of our sisters that have had to deal with so much hardness that oftentimes they're coming to us with hardness. And I think that's one of the reasons why we shouldn't put pressure on how long we date, because once we discover that we hit that in a sister, if we realize that there's other things that are valuable about her, we'll say, let's take some time to work specifically on that. Where is the therapist? And we both go to the therapist, and and I'm sitting there with you, supporting you as you work through that, because you're going to dig deep and find that there's something in me that I'm going to need that same support, and we actually want the relationship to be healthy, not brownie points for who's winning.
That's good. I have about 3 more questions on the floor.
Get to the next question. I want to give Jeffrey an opportunity to share.
Submission for a man, submission for a woman, they cringe. When we hear alpha female, we cringe because we know it's going to be an uphill battle. But I will say this as far as submission goes, it's easy to submit when you trust the person that you're submitting to. When you love them enough to want to see them fulfilled, and you believe, like the bishop was saying, the capacity to handle you and the things that you have to do. If you don't have that, you can't submit to that person. You'll never submit to that person. And you'll always make up reasons in your mind where I can't submit because he paid the house note 2 days late. It'll always be something. So I think that healing needs to happen within you from the X's, all the X stuff, all the X residue that's out there. You need to heal from that, and then you can receive what God has for you.
Amen. I want to ask one question before we're coming right there, Cedric. How many women in here would be okay if their husband made less than them? Wow.
Hands
Okay.
high, hands high. Let's see, let's see.
And I got big eyes, too.
Right. We're going to take a picture of it. What'd you say?
It's a caveat. Next time we got to put you on a panel. I want to get this question over here because this person hasn't asked a question yet.
Go ahead.
So I saw a question online, and I just wanted to know you guys' thoughts about it. It basically said that, can you fulfill your purpose without a spouse? And they were saying, like, the reality is that some people will go their entire life without ever being married. So the question was, can you fulfill your purpose without having a spouse?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because Paul taught about marriage and he didn't get married. So there are people who may not ever get married and they will completely fulfill their purpose. Like, God did not make a person that could leave you and you failed to accomplish your purpose. Even if you've been married before and you guys were working together and he left or she left, it does not mean now I can't accomplish my purpose. No, God has placed some things in you that you will still accomplish if you submit to God. Now, when you partner, it should make it easier to accomplish your purpose. So they're supposed to add to you in such a way where there's not as much weight on you. The burden should be lifted to some degree. So it's not a matter of really, like accomplishing your purpose. It's making the purpose flow more smoothly. Yeah.
Well, I just have a comment. about submission. So the thing about submission for me is, as an independent woman, I've been doing a lot of things for myself for a long period of time. It's easy for me to submit when a man comes and solves a problem. So I will even bring up the example about being here at church. I'm used to just running, picking up stuff, doing it on my own. Cedric stops me, Pastor Ron stops me. They solve a problem. So it's easy for me to submit and to do what someone asks. If they're bringing a resolution, they're solving a problem, I can submit to that. So it's not hard when someone is solving a problem that you have or making your life easier. It's easy to submit to them.
That's good. We have a question right here. Did you want to add something, Pastor Michael?
I
We're
do
running
wanna
out of
say
time.
To what Kawana just said, so between the trust piece and then the respect piece, submission is a matter of trust and respect of who it is you're submitting to. And when you have the common denominator of your relationship at hand, you're going to succeed based on togetherness, not we're in a fight and you trying to control me, because submission is about control in modern day culture. Right. But really it's about trust and respect. If I trust you, I honor you, and I respect you, and I see your character, and I see your integrity, I don't mind. I'm okay with submitting to my lady. If you're smart in some areas that I don't have some customization, I would say, okay, how should we go in that way? And vice versa. If I'm smart and I got some wisdom in some other areas, then follow me. So to Bishop's point earlier, it's about unity of submission, not about control.
Yeah, and submission becomes a relief then. Right? When you have a understanding that I don't have or knowledge that I don't have, and I can come to you, now I'm relieved. It is not me accepting something that's arduous. This ain't even hard no more. Matter of fact, I run to you.
Hey, look.
Because I'm being relieved.
My yoke is easy and my burden is light.
Burden is light, right? So when we think of submission, we should actually think of relief.
That's good. Come on.
That's good.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So, okay, I wanted to add to, because it sounded like Diamond was asking about like the practical part of how do I grow in submission. And so this is an area that I personally had to grow in because of the past experiences that I had, as far as, not just injury within intimate relationships, but in the workplace. And so I struggled with I still submitted to authority, but I had grudges, right? I had bitterness, I had hardened, right? And so that impacted my ability to really trust somebody completely and be vulnerable with them. And so in regards to how to grow in the area of submission, for me, it started with God. And so once I got to a place where, because I was at my lowest of lowest. And once I got to a point where I could honestly and transparently talk about all of the injuries and the hurt and the pain and the bitterness with him, and see that, okay, I'm submitting these feelings to him, I'm submitting these vulnerabilities to him, then it presented an opportunity for him to really cover me, and to really cover me in his safety, right? Cover me in his compassion, cover me in his empathy. And so I felt secure in that moment. And as a result, because I had that moment, then I was able to have other encounters with him that allowed me to grow in submission with him, and also open myself up to being submitted to other people.
Amen. Amen. Listen, we are completely out of time. We have another question back
Just
here?
one right here.
Okay, this is the last question.
I just wanted to know, I wanted to ask at the last conference, what, from a male perspective, when you all say masculine energy or women are hard, or what is that? What does that look like? Because if a person, just because I'm independent and I can do for myself, and I know I can do for myself, what does the masculine energy and not being, the masculine energy, that's what I'm
That's a great question.
That is great.
I'll jump in because Cedric and I and Pastor Jordan, and we talk about this. And so masculine energy on a woman looks like the opposite of feminine energy, meaning tone, diction, pitch, how you say what you say, delivery, letting this little tongue, the rudder and the fire kindle. When you release those words, it could cause a man to want to harm you, even your own husband. That's how deep masculine energy can be. And so it's the femininity that a man desires lets you soften up. And I get it. Our women, black women, particularly single moms, married, whatever, have been through a lot. So I'm not discounting the masculine energy that has been required to go through life, to sacrifice so much physically, emotionally, psychologically, financially. But when the right man, not just a man, comes into your life, there's grace to work that thing out. There's grace to say that, you know what, forgive me in how I delivered that. Forgive me in what I said, because, again, the wrong words to the wrong man causes conflict and causes some physical altercation. That's domestic violence. But the femininity that a woman has can soften a man's approach. A soft answer turns away wrath is what the word says. So how you say what you say, that's the piece about masculine energy on a woman versus femininity. It's nice when I see Cedric and Kira and she falls into his arms and just lays on his chest. That's the feminine energy that she gives to him. And then there's times when he might need her feminine energy to bring him from 10 to 2 to 5 because he's a big dude. He's going to hurt somebody or he might shoot somebody. So I'm just saying. But that's an example of feminine energy versus masculine energy. And it's about the tongue, how we say what we say, and with wisdom.
I'll say this, that a man can physically hurt you and a woman can emotionally hurt a man. They're both strength, they're expressed different. They're expressed different. You know, like a man punching you, the man feels the same way when you talk to him a certain way. It feels like a punch. And oftentimes, because it's not shown in his emotion and his response, you don't think that he's hurting. So oftentimes, when we're talking about masculine energy, it is about the lack of grace and the lack of compassion shown to the person that you say you want to spend the rest of your life with. It is the cares of the world and the way you have to show up in society, you bring that to me, and it's almost as if I'm now the punching bag with your attitude and your tone and the words that you use, and you don't realize how difficult that is for me to find safety with you, because I feel like if I say something to you, you're going to lash back at me and you punch me with your words. But because of the way that society now, I can't talk back. You know what I'm saying? I can't, so I take it, and most men oftentimes suffer in silence. So the whole conversation, I think it's kind of exasperated a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Masculine energy, feminine energy. I think we kind of have overplayed it, but I just think it is a lack of compassion. And we oftentimes are using our spouse to take out aggression instead of seeing them as an ally.
And I would say this too, you know, I think that masculine energy is definitely expressed when you lose the nurture. Because you're a nurturer. That's who you are. And so when you lose the nurturer and it becomes now an attack, it feels like we're fighting the same sex. Because what makes you different is your ability to nurture. And really, when you are operating in that, you're far more powerful than you could ever be when you lose the nurture. And so if you talk to us the way that God has fashioned you and equipped you to talk to us, you could really make somebody 7 foot tall come all the way down and put their jacket on the ground so you could step over a puddle. That is your strength and that is your ability, and God has given you that. But this world and society, to a certain degree, has caused you to put the nurture down because you can't climb corporately being a nurturer, right? There's a certain level of aggression that's needed to be an entrepreneur, right? So you learn how to move and function in this. If you're doing, if you're renovating homes and you're dealing with contractors, you're not being a nurturer with them. You're commanding. You're saying what needs to be done. And so because of what you are forced to do, often you have lost the nurturer when you come into the house. And that is what's so needed in the house to bring balance. Okay? So let's give the panel a hand. Listen, this has been so powerful. We're going to, before we end, I'm going to have Chantrell come up, and she's going to give us this, the last thing that you will hear tonight. I've held you for far too long, but has this been a blessing to you? Listen, initially this was something that I was going to do just in-house, but we wanted to allow our friends and family to come in and learn the lessons and get the insight. Let's thank Bishop Antoine Jackson for being with us. He's a busy guy, and he took time out of his schedule to be here. I appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for coming and sharing wisdom and insight with us. I want to know the impact, because I think if we know about this, like psychologically, like what happens to our mind, what goes on when you're in a relationship that is not a loving relationship. Let's give Chantrell a hand.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor, for the opportunity. I would reframe the question and instead of saying the psychological effects of an unloving relationship, reframe it to an unhealthy relationship. Because a lot of people grow up in, violent, severe environments where, getting punched was seen as love. Being talked to harshly was seen as love. Bishop, you spoke about, emotions, punching someone emotionally and causing emotional wounds. That was seen as love. And so you get to a point where what you've learned over time that was love really wasn't love. It was unhealthy. And so it's important to distinguish between the two. Okay, so what I'll start off with is if you could go with me in your mind for a minute. So if you close your eyes, I want you to envision, I don't want you to go too deep into it because I don't want you to bring up any past trauma. But if you could think about a relationship that you can identify that was unhealthy for you, and the things that you had to do in that relationship, what were some of the things you had to do? What were some of the things you had to say? What were some of the things that you had to avoid in order to navigate that relationship for that time that you were committed to it? And so when either you can do it now or when you get home, I want you to write about that particular relationship. And the reason why I asked you to visualize that is because what happens is psychologically you have to adapt to whatever relationship you're in. So then those things begin to shape and mold and condition you as far as how you mentally engage other people, right? And so that's the thing that you have to think about. So what happens is we experience different things in relationships. And so when we were born, initially God's design was for us to be vulnerable, was to be naked, to be exposed, right? To be uncovered. And when sin came into the world, we then began to hide. We then, were introduced to shame. We were then introduced to all of these other things where, we no longer trusted the one who created us. And so as time goes on, you begin to develop a shield, and that's your survival strategy. And so those are the things that you use to navigate relationships or to protect yourself, because it all serves a purpose, right? On the opposite side of the survival strategy or your shield is vulnerability. And the person that's able to, look past that and actually have the empathy and the compassion and the understanding to be patient with you, to see past that, gets access to the vulnerability. Okay. Um, so another psychological effect, and keep in mind that your mind, it's a cycle. So your thoughts impact your emotions impact your behaviors impact your thoughts impact your emotions. It's all interconnected. And it impacts how not only how you view other people, but also how you view yourself when you're in an unhealthy relationship. So instead of viewing yourself as a special possession, you begin to celebrate when you are considered someone's option. Okay. Um, so some of the psychological things that happen within unhealthy relationships is, that particular statement speaks to a low self-worth, a low vision of yourself. And when you have a low vision of yourself, your expectations are going to be low for other people. Okay, so then you settle, for not being talked to nicely because you have a warm body, right? Or you settle for your thoughts and your emotions not being considered because then that means I don't have to be alone. Okay. Other things that happen in unhealthy relationships psychologically is helplessness. So you develop a level of dependency on someone that's unhealthy. So codependency or overdependency. Okay, so you're seeking and looking for someone to meet all of your mental, emotional, physical, relational, social, all of those needs. And that person doesn't have the capacity. That means that they may not be able to hold that for you, right? And if they are a person that's mentally and emotionally unstable, or not necessarily, they may be unstable, but they, it's some unstable people out here. They may be unstable, but they also may have not learned or they may have been injured. And so that impacts their ability to have that capacity for you because who has had it for them? Okay. It also, could develop a sense of fear, anxiety, depression, insecurity, paranoia. Another big word is narcissism, right? And so some people think of it, okay, like the psychological effect is only feeling low. For some people, it may be that you may be on the other end of the spectrum and you be more aggressive or you be more irrational. You be more hot-tempered. And so it just really varies. And it really also depends on what you saw in your environment growing up as well and how people responded to the different situations that were presented to them. Okay. Um, and then this will be the last thing that I share. So you cannot genuinely flow in the fruit of the Spirit without love. Okay. It is better to help people identify this within the context. Oh, I already stated that. Sorry. So, you cannot genuinely flow in the fruit of the Spirit without love. And so the reason that I bring that up is because two scriptures or texts that are often referred to are, the fruit of the Spirit, and of course, 1 Corinthians 13 is about love, right? And the first fruit of the Spirit that's listed, no matter what translation you read it in, is love, right? And so 1 Corinthians 13, speaks about love is patient and kind. Love is, not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. These characteristic or these traits of love that's being described in this particular text coincide with the fruit of the Spirit. Okay? So you can't, if you don't have any self-control, you're likely to be boastful and always talk about you. Right? If you don't have any self-control, it's easy for you to become irritable, right? Or if you can be irritable if you lack patience, right? So they go hand in hand, okay? And so that's just some nuggets I wanted to share on tonight.
Awesome. Awesome. Let's give her a hand. That was excellent information. Excellent information. We're having the conversation again because we have to think through this. Now, I'm all for prayer and I'm all for fasting, but we perish for lack of knowledge. We praying. We know how to come in here, pray, shout, do all of that. But we have to dwell with each other according to knowledge and understanding. I want you to stand to your feet because I want to pray for each and every one of us in this room. Because there are people here who want to be married, want purpose partners is what they're calling them now, Bishop. Purpose partners, yes, yes. And there's some things that we need to let go of, some things that we've carried for a really long time. And God is saying, before I connect you with another person, you're going to have to get rid of this. And so what I want to be able to do is pray, because I heard someone say this, and I wanted to ask you this question, Bishop, because we were having this conversation about people waiting on God to like finish working on the person they supposed to be with, right? And I was like, I don't think God gonna make you wait because he in the club still. You know, I just believe that when you're ready, God will manifest the thing that you've been praying for. And if he can't get himself together, God got somebody else that he can send right along, and they'll work real well with your purpose. It's the truth. And so at the end of the day, there's some things that God wants to do to get us ready. And it's easy for us to say, well, you know, maybe it's this reason or that reason. No, we got to look at us. And we got to say, God, whatever it is, I want you to work on me. Father, I thank you for each and every person that's in this room, God. There are people that are praying right now for their partner, the one that you have selected, oh God. You've selected them, oh God, based on the needs, based on assignment, oh God. I thank you right now, God, that we will see them and choose who you would choose for us. That we would come into full agreement with your will for our lives. God, rid us of the residue, the things that are embedded in us from our context, from our family, anything that we've brought to this place, oh God, that you want us to cast. We want to cast it right now, so that we can be ready to move forward and accomplish our assignment. And not only accomplish our assignment, but love the person that you are allowing us to come into covenant with. I pray that we would come serving. I pray that we would come praying. I pray that we would come being patient. I pray that we would come with understanding and wisdom and insight. Father, I thank you right now, God, for what you're doing in the lives of your people. You are connecting us. You are causing us to rise from every low place. You are causing us to communicate clearly, oh God. I thank you for stability. I thank you, oh God, for a heart to be committed and loyal and faithful. I thank you right now for the great work that you're doing in the lives of each and every person that's here, those that are watching, God. We declare now in the mighty name of Jesus, that we will take responsibility for our lives, and we will grow, and we will evolve, and we will develop, oh God, and become, oh God, who you've called us to be. We want to realize our highest potential, and we know that we can do that, oh God, when we submit to you and when we allow you, oh God, to use us for your glory. I thank you right now for the mentors. I thank you for the teachers. I thank you for those who will pour in our cups until it overflows. Make us cups that overflow, oh God. Cause us to lack no good thing, oh Lord. You are able to bring us into the fullness of who you've called us to be, God. Be magnified even as a single in our lives. Before we even come into marriage, before we even come into a covenant, God, cause your glory to rest upon us. Cause us to be successful in our lives and our businesses, oh God. I thank you right now, God, that you're doing it for your people. Have your way on this day, God. I thank you for healing them. I thank you for deliverance. I thank you for the counselors that you have sent their way, oh God. They are unloading, oh Lord, everything that they've carried so that they can move forward and do what you've called them to do. And for those, oh God, who want to remain single, I pray for them, oh God, that they would be satisfied in you. That they would be satisfied in you, oh God. That they would not be distracted, but that they would move forward in joy. That they would be used in the house of God. That they would build even as a single. I thank you right now for enlarging their capacity, for giving them an aptitude for learning, for causing them to thrive. I thank you right now that they're more than conquerors. No weapon that's formed against them shall prosper. I declare it now. In every tongue that rises against them in judgment, they are condemning it now in the name of Jesus. We thank you and we praise you for joining us tonight. We're going to have other sessions like this because I think that this is powerful and we want you to be a part of it. So stay tuned. We're going to have some other sessions that's going to come up before summer, and we're going to gather again and we're going to talk about it, because before we can walk in it, we got to talk in it. Amen. God bless you all. Have a great night.